Let's continue the conversation now with the national spokesperson for the Trump campaign, Katrina Pierson. Katrina Skypes in from deep in the heart of Texas in Dallas tonight. And Katrina, we really appreciate your time here on Newsmax Prime. And let me just ask you, what is your reaction to National Review devoting an entire issue to trashing Mr. Trump?
Well, good evening, JD. I found it quite comical because this is supposedly these top conservatives out there, and some who've actually proclaimed in the past to be raging liberals but converted, but it seems no one else can do that these days. But I will say this is obviously a Hail Mary pass. I mean, these editors endorsed Senator Cruz in Texas, so I'm not quite sure why they haven't gone out and endorsed him this time instead of going after Mr. Trump. But more importantly, the line of attack is the same as a Jeb Bush. When we look at the broad spectrum of support that Donald Trump has throughout the Republican Party, even through Democrats and independents, as Rush Limbaugh pointed out today, why would they be going after the Republican frontrunner, which looks like the only one that may be able to win a general election, JD? And I think what the answer is that they're more concerned with what the vocabulary that a Republican candidate uses rather than the issues like making America great again.
Well, it's interesting because we look at your background, and a few years ago, you were all in for Trump as a Tea Partier you were all in for Ted Cruz when he was running for the U.S. Senate. But now in a national campaign, you're with Donald Trump. Another one of our Texas friends, Congressman Louis Gohmert, was on with Newsmax TV, Steve Malzberg, and Steve asked Louis about Mr. Trump. Let's listen and watch.
Is he doing what he needs to win now and then going to turn around and go back to the principles he stood on for nearly all his life in the general election, and then the evangelicals have nowhere else to go at that point?
So there is Louis, who backs Senator Cruz in this race, but he's a fellow Texan of yours, and there have been some concerns that some of the positions that Mr. Trump takes now are in stark contrast to where he stood a relatively short time ago. How do you respond?
Well, it's not exactly relatively short. Everyone's pointing to a video back in 1999, and that's not a short time ago. When just 15 months ago, Senator Cruz wasn't even a full American citizen. He was still a Canadian citizen. So how far back do we really want to go to talk about where someone is today? But what I will say is Donald Trump does have a conservative platform. He has hired constitutional conservatives as his policymakers, and these are the exact same criticism that Ronald Reagan received. JD, I'll remind you, Ronald Reagan campaigned for Truman, who was further to the left on health care as Obamacare. So people do change over time. Life changes people, experiences changes people. Donald Trump isn't coming from this at an ideological perspective, which is really what the complaint is. Donald Trump is coming after this as he's a businessman who has built an international company that has been successful, and he thinks everyone else should have the same rights. He is focused on foreign policy, he's focused on domestic economic policy, and illegal immigration. Without those three things, none of the other stuff matters, JD.
Well, you mentioned immigration, and I'll confess, when I was first in Congress, sadly it took 9/11 to wake me up and make me a hawk against illegal immigration, so obviously people can change their minds. Katrina, 30 seconds for this final question. We've all heard the talk about the possibility of a Trump-Cruz ticket, but with the recent competition now and strain in the relationship, some people don't think that could come to pass. Do you think it's conceivable we could see the team of Trump and Cruz yet?
Well, that's really not my decision to make. I think that would be a popular ticket among Republicans, but we'll have to see. Mr. Trump will ultimately make that decision, and I'm sure whichever decision he makes will be the best one for the country.
Fair enough. Katrina Pierson, tonight from Dallas. We appreciate your thoughts on the Trump campaign. When we come back, our political panel, Ellis Hennigan and Ken Blackwell, taking a look at some of the new TV campaign ads. We're coming back.